we recognize that CVUUS gathers on land seized from the Western Abenaki people by European colonizers. We respect the Abenaki's spiritual relationship to the land and waters of the Champlain Valley. We are committed to building a peaceful and more just relationship with them and to promoting knowledge about their history and culture. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Champlain Valley Unitarian Universalist Society, CVUUS. We are a church of helping hands, loving hearts, and open minds. I am Jay Harrington. I'm a member of this congregation, the worship team, and I'll be assisting our returning guest minister from Maine, the Reverend Christina Solari. She has been here before, most recently this past fall. Are you going to be here next week as well?
Yeah.
All right, next week as well. And she asked if you would, next week she'll be preaching about what God is and would love to have our input about what God is to each of us. So if you'd be willing to email her a little bit, she stressed that, a little bit about what that means to you, she'd appreciate that. Thank you, Christina, for joining us. We're glad that you all have come here this morning. Whether you're visiting for the first time, you've been here most recently in the last you've been absent for 2 years and just coming back for the first time, or you've been able to manage through all the different iterations of hybrid and in-person services that we've had. Welcome. Please now, if you would, help us all stay present together by silencing your cell phones, put them into worship mode. And if you're visiting, please, after the service, sign the guest book in the foyer so that we can contact you, send you news of activities and events that might be coming up. And we hope that you will return. If you have a milestone or passage that you would like shared during the service, please fill out a yellow card. They're available in the back where the ushers were, and put it in the basket during the offering. If you have any questions, ask an usher. After today's service, please join us for coffee hour downstairs, and there's also a congregational conversation about the media screen and how we use it. There is more information about this conversation in the order of service. Also in the order of service, there's all sorts of pathways to connection that help us bring our community together. An example is the upcoming Rhubarb Festival, and Lise has a few words about that. Lise?
Good morning. I am pleased to co-chair the Rhubarb Festival this year with Mary Hadley. This is the event that brings in the community to CVUUS to buy pie. It's our chicken dinner. So we support HOPE, helping to overcome poverty's effects, and CVUUS through this fundraiser, and we need more volunteers to sign up. We have a table in the lobby. There's a lot of different roles. Picking pie making at home, picking rhubarb, helping with the book and plant sales this year, making sweets and savories, and 3 pie bees. And pie bees, when I came here in 2017, was how I got to know many of you. I actually rolled and mixed and put together pies with other people, and it made me feel connected. So I encourage anyone who's new, it's a wonderful, you out there on the internet, please come and join us. There are 3 pie bees this year, so we hope you will participate.
Thanks, Lise. Also, Ann Webster would like to say a little bit about the stewardship campaign.
Hello, everyone. I want to say an update currently is that in pledges we have received 274,000. And in Got You Covered pledges, we have 10,350. But the bad news is that basically the board has been trying to finalize the budget, and currently for us to provide a balanced budget for you in the beginning of June, we're still looking for around $11,000. And much of this has to do with the fact of trying to follow UUA guidelines in terms of wage increases. So I'll just kind of go over what the board has done, and we definitely have kind of a bare minimum budget going here in terms of for additional income. We have received a gift of $4,800, which will go towards our mortgage payments. Transfer in that we usually do from previous years is normally under 10,000. We're committing 20,000 to that. We're increasing what we expect for the use of the buildings from 6,000 to 8,000. And let's see, now for expenses, we have gone from budgeting and estimating an 8.3 increase for staff to a 7.3 to we're currently at a 6.3. And we really don't want to go any lower than a 6.3. Under programs, we have cut most budgets by some amount. And to make that clear, the only budgets we have not cut from what was presented last Sunday is the Canvas budget, the Flower Co-op budget, the music budget, personnel budget, religious exploration, and the worship. So a lot of the smaller committees and things, that has gone down. And let's see here. Another cut that we have made for the first time ever, we are not committing to our pledge to the UUA. We're cutting that by $4,000 from what the request would be from them for a congregation with our membership and our size. So I just wanted to make it really clear to people that this also does not include some increases, like the music director has requested additional funds for a house band, which would be totally amazing to have, and we've already had a taste of that, and I think it would be quite invigorating for the congregation, but that is not included in the budget. So basically, everything I'm presenting here now is the budget we have that we still need 11,000 to cover that. So I'm just going to put out there, if you haven't made your pledge, we'd love you to do it this week if you are able. And if you committed to a Got You Covered gift for this current fiscal year, but you haven't paid it yet, that would be fantastic if you are still able to do that. And if you would like to increase your pledge or provide a Got You Covered pledge, that would be fantastic as well. But also, we understand that many of us are in difficult financial situations. With inflation high, the stock markets are all over the place, the world feels and seems like it's going crazy. It feels like these are the times that we need this congregation to thrive and our community to remain strong. So my last word is give as you are able, but do not overextend. As in any caring situation, make sure your own life jacket is secure in order to better serve others. So, thank you.
Not quite. Thanks. Please check out the Pathways to Connections that are also in the order of service for other opportunities for us to grow and thrive as a community. Now let us worship together.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Jay. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here. Is there anyone on Zoom? Hi, people on Zoom. So our call to worship this morning is from the little book of Atheist Spirituality by Andre Comte Sponville. Frankly, you do not need to believe in God to be convinced that sincerity is preferable to dishonesty, courage to cowardice, generosity to egoism, gentleness and compassion to violence and cruelty, justice to injustice, love to hate. Of course not. Those who believe in God recognize these values in God, or perhaps God in them. Such is the traditional setup. People's faith and their fidelity go hand in hand, and I wouldn't dream of holding it against them. But why shouldn't those of us who are without faith be able to recognize the human grandeur of all these values, their urgent importance, their vital necessity, their extreme fragility, and respect them because of all these qualities?
Ask Ann Webster to come forward and light the chalice for us this morning. As Ann lights the chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, please read with me the passage in your order of service. May we release ourselves from the need to fit every truth neatly into our own language. May we occasionally forget ourselves long enough to remember each other. Thanks. I'll sing hymn 346.
Carl told me to fix the mic. Thank you, Carl. So our time for all ages comes from the tale. Why did God create atheists? This is a parable. There's a famous story told in Hasidic literature that addresses this very question. The master teaches the student that God created everything in the world to be appreciated, since everything is here to teach a lesson. One clever student asks, "What lesson can we learn from atheists? Why did God create them?" The master responds, "God created atheists to teach us the most important lesson of them all, the lesson of true compassion." You see, when an atheist performs an act of charity, visits someone who is sick, helps someone in need, and cares for the world, he is not doing so because of some religious teaching. He does not believe that God commanded him to perform this act. In fact, he does not believe in God at all. So his acts are based on an inner sense of morality. And look at the kindness he can bestow upon others simply because he feels it to be right. This means, the master continued, that when someone reaches out to you for help, you should never say, "I pray that God will help you." Instead, for the moment, you should become an atheist. Imagine that there is no God who can help, and say, "I will help you."
And now is a chance to help out our fellow folks in our community. It's time for our offering. Each month we choose a group to share half our Sunday offering with. This month our contributions go to the Hungarian UU Church Ukraine Relief. Please give as generously as you are able. If you are here, please come forward with your offering while the music is playing and put it in the basket in the front. Those Zooming, please follow the directions on the screen. If you have a yellow card sharing a milestone or passage, you're invited to put that into the offering basket as well. have 3 yellow cards this morning. And so I'll start with the one that I was here when I first arrived. It's about Marnie Wood, truly a core part of the CVU US community. She's at the University of Vermont Medical Center recovering from a stroke. Although the damage has affected her vision and sensation on her left side, she is making steady gains in strength. She is very much herself, having won over the hearts of each and every caregiver, and so is blessed with gentle but deliberate healing care. Cards can be sent to her home address, where they'll be picked up by her sister Deb, who's soon to arrive. Deep gratitude goes to Lynn Ballman for her unfailing support of Marnie through all this. And that came through Dinah. From Sue and Charlie Grigg, as Joy, I believe, the first sentence at least. Yesterday we attended the graduation of our grandson Max from Castleton University. His path to this point has been difficult, beautiful, and inspiring. He graduated cum laude, much to his surprise. We are very proud of him. Thank you, Charlie and Sue. And from Colleen Brown, I want to thank all of the wonderful, kind CVUSers who have been holding my hand as I walked the recent path of celebrating my retirement and mourning my father's death. I feel very blessed to be part of this loving community. Thank you for sharing these joys and concerns. Thank you, Colleen, for sharing the mix of joys and concerns through your card, and the joys, Sue and Charlie. And we're all certainly going to be thinking about Marnie and her progress as she's working through the University of Vermont Medical Center. As these cards have helped us find a better sense of ourselves, we also recognize and consider the joys and concerns that have been left unspoken.
I invite us to sit up tall, close our eyes, maybe uncross our limbs. Just feel our bodies, our breath dropping into our hearts, knowing that we are among other hearts. And in this place, let us share silence together. Remaining in this quiet place, Let's stay seated and sing Spirit of Life. Atheism is a venerable tradition with roots in ancient Greece and India. Atheism in the USA is protected under the First Amendment's Free Exercise Clause. Our founding fathers held fast to freedom. Freedom to believe or not to believe in God, the separation of church and state, and prohibition against discrimination of religious belief. Yet, atheism has often been punishable by imprisonment or death, which helps us understand why atheists in certain times and places tend to whisper. Are you an atheist who whispers? Europeans were executed and tortured in the 16th and 17th century for atheist beliefs. Today, atheists are killed in places like Iran and Nigeria. Atheism got the poet Percy Shelley kicked out of Oxford in 1811. Early feminists felt religion, including God, was an obstacle to women's rights. You may be familiar with the famous quote by Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who said, "The Bible and the church have been the greatest stumbling block in the way of women's emancipation." And I believe they still are, or we would not be fighting today for women's right to choose. In his TED Talk, Militant Atheism, Richard Dawkins tells this story. In 1987, a reporter asked George Bush Sr. whether he recognized the equal citizenship and patriotism of Americans who are atheists. Mr. Bush's reply has become infamous. No, I don't know that atheists should be considered citizens, nor should they be considered patriots. This is one nation under God. Bush's bigotry was not an isolated mistake blurted out in the heat of the moment and later retracted. He stood by it in the face of repeated calls for clarification or withdrawal. He really meant it. He knew it posed no threat to his election, quite the contrary. Democrats, as well as Republicans, parade their religiousness if they want to get elected. Both parties invoke one nation under God. According to recent polls, 13% of people worldwide identify as atheist, which is double that of the US. The highest reported share of self-described atheist is where? What country do you think it is? I can't hear any of you, so I'll just say it. China. Astounding 68% of people in China identify as atheist. Last year, a worldwide survey reported that having no religious affiliation, that's the nones, right, N-O-N-E, is now the world's third biggest faith after Christianity and Islam. Why? Because religion is breaking down everywhere due to mind-blowing scientific discoveries, sex and money scandals, the inability of old traditions to deal with contemporary culture, and the negative political impact religion has on basic human rights. No wonder atheism is on the rise. Polling of UUs is vague. Doesn't surprise us, right? Ranging from 2% to 50%, depending on groups polled and if you include agnostics and humanists. Some of our congregations are more theistic, some more humanist. I'm reminded of the only time my mother, very religious person, attended church at First Parish, where I used to minister. After the service, she said, "I loved it. The rituals, the people, the music, the sermon. There was only one thing missing," she said. "What?" I anxiously replied. "God," she whispered. I identified as an atheist for most of my 20s, like strong, militant atheist. The Jesuits at Boston College, where I was an undergrad, convinced me that God did not exist. It's true. Through their teachings of philosophy, psychology, logic. My father always said, BC ruined me, meaning that it opened my mind to new ideas. The idea of no God made sense to me. At the time, I never believed in the Judeo-Christian God. My education gave me the freedom to question my beliefs and question the existence of God. Yet my studies didn't give me enough information to calm my inquisitive spirit. My seeking led me to Buddhism, which worked out perfectly because it's a non-theistic religion. It gave me a practice and a community and sacred texts. I was good to go for a while. Then I got restless again. I wanted to make sense of the mystical and transcendental experiences I was having in my life through dreams, meditation, and nature. And then I found our faith, where I could bring all of my beliefs and all of my questions. Here's where I encountered religious atheists, people who did not believe in God, but belonged to a faith community. I found their beliefs refreshing. Reverend Dr. William F. Schultz, human rights activist and president emeritus of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, writes of these beliefs. We believe that human beings are responsible for the future, that history is in our hands, not those of an angry God or inexorable fate. We believe life's blessings are available to everyone, not just those who can recite a certain catechism. And we believe that those blessings are made manifest to us not just in the miraculous or extraordinary, but in the simple pleasures of everyday life. How much are we each enjoying the simple pleasures of everyday life? Doesn't matter what we believe to enjoy this world. The history of atheism in our denomination and how it transformed, a very theistic religion into a non-theistic religion is complicated. But it happened through humanist thought in the 1930s. Humanism shifted the focus of our faith towards the use of reason and science in understanding humanity. Unitarian religious humanist, writer, feminist, and proponent of social reform, Charlotte Ann Perkins Gilman, wrote a poem that conveys the sentiments of atheism of that time. Whatever is. Whatever is, we only know, as in our minds as we find it so. No staring fact is half so clear as one dim, preconceived idea, no matter how the fact may glow. Vainly may truth her trumpet blow to stir our minds like heavy dough. They stick to what they think, won't hear whatever is. Our ancient myths in solid row stand up. We simply have to go and choke each fiction old and dear before the modest facts appear. Then we may grasp, reluctant, slow, whatever is. Whatever it is we believe in is just a perspective. Even our most ingrained views are simply our limited understanding of something based on our life experience. None of us is right, and none of us is wrong. We know this in our hearts, even though sometimes we may feel so strongly about our own ideas, disagree with others. We strive to honor one another's spiritual process, and we try to support each other in our search for truth and meaning. That's why we're sitting here this morning instead of any other place of worship in town. Down the road, people are worshiping God. Our focus is not on the worship of God, but we, as UUs, gather each week to explore the mystery of humanity and the universe. And atheism is part of our search for truth and meaning. It offers a counterbalance to the religiosity that has gotten out of hand. Whether someone is an atheist or a theist does not determine whether they are compassionate, moral, kind, justice-seeking, or non-judgmental. We can think of examples of people in our personal lives. Atheism doesn't guarantee good behavior among our leaders any more than religion does. There are plenty of examples of corruption and immorality in positions of unchecked power, both by atheists such as Mao Zedong in China, Joseph Stalin in the USSR, Pol Pot in Cambodia, and theists such as Adolf Hitler in Germany, Francisco Franco in Spain, and Idi Amin in Uganda. Atheism, like theism, has soft and hard groups. Some people who are really angry, and some people who are very loving. We have the hardcore atheists like Hitchens, Harris, and Dawkins, who Vincent Bugliosi, author of Divinity or Doubt, refers to as intellectual, polished writers who do not confront most of the major issues of atheism or present an intelligent, sound case for their positions. Although I love what Richard Dawkins says in his TED Talk, quote, "In practice, what is an atheist? An atheist is just someone who feels about Yahweh the way any decent Christian feels about Thor or Baal or the golden calf. As has been said before, we are all atheists about most of the gods that humanity has ever believed in. Some of us just go one god further." Love that. And then we have soft-core atheists, like Andre Comte-Sponville, author of Our Opening Words, who brings the atheist-believer debate to a higher level, and Alan de Bottom's Religion for Atheists, which calls us to adopt religion's pedagogy of community, relationships, music, beauty, and emotional stability, just like we do here at SUUs, and build museums named the Gallery of Compassion or the Gallery of Fear. We welcome atheists into our congregations just as we welcome theists and agnostics and all seekers of truth into our uncommon religion. But I often wonder if we as UUs really talk about our beliefs with each other. And if not, is it because we don't want to shape things up with one another? Perhaps if we started to speak to each other about our beliefs, listen, really listen, and hear one another's perspectives, we as individuals will grow and change and get more in touch with our own beliefs. For now, we can be grateful for the many blessings of atheism. I have a long list. Atheism is the purest essence of one flavor of the unorthodoxy that we Unitarian Universalists cherish. In a world plagued by isms that claim to have the answer, atheism serves as a counterweight as long as it doesn't become its own answer. Then it's no better than the religiosity it mocks. Atheism provides a context and container for people who doubt their faith. Atheism inspires reason and intellect, research and science in our quest. Atheism helps us accept our mortality and the idea of nothingness. Atheism frees us up to focus on the fate of the world. Atheism is a form of humility, of surrender, of letting go. And finally, atheism forces us to find peace and healing, justice and restoration in humanity. So perhaps when we see pain and suffering, and we are grasping for whatever is, we can become an atheist, imagining there is no God who can help. So we choose to help. Because when we prefer sincerity to dishonesty, courage to cowardice, generosity to egoism, gentleness and compassion to violence and cruelty, justice to injustice, love to hate, then it doesn't matter what we believe. A few days ago, my daughter, who is not indoctrinated into a belief in God, despite my mother's attempts, asked me what I was preaching about today. Atheism, I said, with a hint of desperation in her breath. She asked, "Do atheists have faith?" "Yes," I said, "some do." Faith does not need a deity or a temple, a belief in someone or something. Faith is beyond any theism. The conclusiveness and rationalism of both theism and atheism can keep us in our heads. And faith puts us in our hearts, implying a basic trust in the spirit of life, in our great Mother Earth, and in each other. Faith is, as Roger Housen writes in Keeping the Faith Without the Religion, a non-rational intuition of the truth, goodness, and beauty that are intrinsic to life and that lie alongside the darkness in any human heart. All our hearts need soothing at times. May this faith, our faith as Unitarian Universalists, and this community of seekers gathered today be the healing balm so we can use our faith to bring light to the heart of humanity and to build the common good. So our closing words today are a prayer by Algernon Black, a liberal social critic. He delivered it in the 1950s at the New York Society for Ethical Culture. It's a little bit long, so I invite you to take a breath, feel your body, be in your heart. This is a call to the living, to those who refuse to make peace with evil, with the suffering and the waste of the world. This is a call to the human, not the perfect, to those who know their own prejudices, who have no intention of becoming prisoners of their own limitations. This is a call to those who remember the dreams of their youth, who know what it means to share food and shelter, the care of children and those who are troubled, to reach beyond barriers of the past, bringing people to communion. This is a call to the never-ending spirit of the common man, his essential decency and integrity, his unending capacity to suffer and endure, to face death and destruction, and to rise again and build from the ruins of life. This is the greatest call of all, the call to a faith in people.